The Fantastic Four trailer. I know Phil is like really hyped for that film, as we all should be. Phil, you want to kick it off with your thoughts?
Well, I mean, not to humble brag, but like I've been okay, let's wind the clock back a little bit. So I've been a Fantastic Four fan since I was a kid. They've always kind of came up alongside, Spider-Man, stuff like that. And I just like that concept a lot. The Marvel's first family, the Thing, Human Torch, Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic, like all of those characters are very interesting in their own way. I have it's so weird because after Fan Four Stick, me being the fan of the stuff that I am, people would ask me, well, what would you do with the Fantastic Four if you, like, hypothetically speaking, if you were the head of like Marvel or whatever, like, what would you do with the Fantastic Four? I was like, oh, I would turn it into a period piece set in the 60s. That's exactly what they're doing with this movie. And I was like, I'm literally getting the movie that I would like to see the Fantastic Four play around in. And I'm getting a comic accurate Galactus. I'm getting Norrin Rad's wife, Shala Ball, as the Silver Surfer. I'm assuming Franklin Richards, because he is the oldest one. He was introduced first in the comics. He is a Jack Kirby Stan Lee creation, and they make it pretty clear that she's pregnant, and I'm kind of hoping that like it is Franklin. They could throw a curveball and make it Valeria first. I won't rule that out, but I'm banking on it being Franklin Richards. Because Franklin Richards is one of the most powerful characters in Marvel.
He is so fucking broken.
He is, dude. If people think Cable's powerful, it's like, no, Franklin Richards trounces him 10 ways to fucking Sunday. Yeah. Like, Franklin Richards has the ability to create a fucking pocket universe. That's how strong this kid is. He is brokenly fucking powerful. And I love the retro futuristic look of it. I like that it's set in its own universe. I think that's actually really smart.
Yeah.
I think the entire cast is perfect. It's pitch perfect. Like, Pedro is Reed, Vanessa Kirby is Sue, Joseph Quinn is Johnny, and fucking Ebon Moss-Bachrach is Thing. Oh my god, he's fucking perfect. Like, there is not one bad casting in this movie. And if you have a problem with Shala Ball as Silver Surfer, fuck out of my face. I don't even want to talk to you.
Yep. Bro, who doesn't want to see a silver painted lady?
Weirdos. That's all there is to it. Weirdos.
I was having that same debate on Facebook the other day of like somebody who claimed to be like an older fan, and they would go, oh, what's this thing that they're happening with the Silver Surfer now? Are they changing this thing? Or are they just trying to, go woke and all that? It's like, hey, listen, you're claiming to be, someone who read these things in an older generation. Just because something is not what you knew and what you're familiar with doesn't mean it's something that didn't already exist. So and these are the same type of people that want, new and innovative things, but then bitch and complain when they get them. So it's like, you're just as bad as the other people you're complaining about.
I kind of have one criticism for Shala Ball, Silver Surfer. The CGI looks kind of bad.
I don't think
that's the only complaint. That's the only complaint. CGI is kind of bad. And maybe it's just the picture, maybe in different lighting she'll look better, but
I don't think it's
finished. I don't think it's finished. And remember the Norrin Rad version from 2007, that was a practical suit with just effects added on top. This is fully CGI. Phil, you don't. Me personally, I've always thought that the Fantastic Four's Earth was just a Earth that looked like it was still the 60s, like just like retro futuristic. But you think that they're literally in the 60s on their Earth?
I think so. Yeah, I think the time frame is 1960s-esque. I think that's why they're making it another universe. They're setting the clock back. Like, look at other past period pieces, right? You had Captain Marvel set in the 90s. You had Captain America, First Avenger, set in the 40s. The Eternals spanned across like a 4,000-year time span, and it covered certain points in Marvel's history. But we've also seen, the 70s in the Marvel Cinematic Universe by way of Avengers Endgame. We've seen other time frames, right? Like, we've seen the MCU in past tense and past presence. None of it looks like what it looks like in the Fantastic Four. So, and even Matt Shackman's like, yeah, this is our own universe. We get to play around in it for a little while. The only heroes here are the Fantastic Four, and the world looks at them like, the MCU looks at the Avengers, right? Like that, I think, is actually really ingenious, because I have to wonder, when they announced they were making the movie back in 2019, when they initially had that super logo that was like black and blue. Was the initial plan to just try and fit it in the MCU. And then over time, as they were developing the project, had writers come in and out, whatever. And, John Watts was at one point attached to direct it. And then he steps away not long after Spider-Man No Way Home. I wonder if at some point was the idea to have them be integrated in the MCU completely, fully, and you just pop them out of a pocket universe or something. And that's how they suddenly appear and make their appearance. Or was the creative decision at some point prior to this current cast and Matt Shackman's directorial debut? Well, I don't know if it's his directorial debut, maybe on a big budget film, but my point is like, at what point, if it was at one point to be integrated in the MCU proper across the main timeline, at what point did they make the decision to go, what if we put it in its own universe first?
That way, you been right around the time of Watts, because he stepped away right.
He stepped away, and I wonder if the idea was like, hey, we want to do this with the movie, and John Watts probably went, well, I don't really have that kind of craftsmanship. I don't really feel like doing a period piece, so maybe find someone else to do it. Like I don't know. This is all conjecture and pure speculation on my part. I have no idea what prompted John Watts to walk away, but it's just very interesting to me that like. And that's the thing. This isn't just pertinent to Fantastic Four. If you go back and look at some of the logos they revealed for other movies up to like the point of production then release, like case in point, Thor Ragnarok had a very, very different image of its logo when they announced it on the slate, and then we get the film and it's a completely different logo. Yeah. This isn't the first time this has happened. I mean, They did it for Thunderbolts. They've done it for, again, as I mentioned, Thor Ragnarok. Doctor Strange, definitely, especially Multiverse of Madness.
Yep. That's what I'm getting at, yeah.
Like this is something they just do, and it's a creative process. And it just kind of that's the part that intrigues me about Fantastic Four the most. I'm just like, at what point did they decide to turn it into a 60s alternate universe? Like, at what point did they make the decision to set it aside in its own universe? But even then, that also makes more sense because of what they're doing with Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars with the incursions happening. So it's going to be inevitable.
Yeah, that switch might have been the best thing for it, because if they would have just tried to fit it in its own piece in modern mainstay MCU as we've come to know it,